Now, PBS, yes, PBS. Those PBS people love to party. Guys, if you get lucky tonight, be safe, wear a tote bag. It works. You gotta love NPR. NPR is still the #1 source for news delivered as if there's a toddler sleeping in the next room. Shh, I'm Lakshmi Singh, shh. NBC News is in the house. Good Lord, they've had a rough go of it, huh? The Today Show let go of Ann Curry. After being told, Ann Curry said, let me get this straight. Al Roker tells the world that he crapped his pants at the White House and I'm getting fired? Al's the reason there are no more tours at the White House. They're still hosing it down. Brian Williams is here. Brian, I'm a big fan of your show, Rock Center with Brian Williams. If you haven't seen it, imagine, this is great, imagine Brian delivering the evening news on a different floor of the building, a little later with a slightly different tie. It's a mind blower. You gotta check it out. But as I look around the room and I see all the media here tonight, I realize this is all just one big high school cafeteria. That's all it is. Think about it. Fox is the jocks, MSNBC is the nerds, bloggers are the goths, NPR is the table for kids with peanut allergies. Al Jazeera is the weird foreign exchange student nobody talks to. And print media, I didn't forget you. You're the poor kid who died sophomore year in a car crash. Yeah. Cheer up, we dedicate the yearbook to you. Of course, probably the biggest story that people in this room covered this past year was the Republican failure to recapture the White House. Hard to believe the Republicans didn't fare better in the election with the support of celebrities like Ted Nugent and Meatloaf. I guess they overestimated the number of voters who still drive carpeted vans. But the Republican Party is on the mend. One rising star on the right is Senator Marco Rubio, or as he's known in the Republican Party, our black guy. Yeah. By the way, as of today, the U.S. Senate has a record number of African-American senators, two. In other words, there are now more African-Americans in the Senate than at a Mumford & Sons concert. Thank you, younger people. Paul Ryan.
Well, you don't understand. What's she babbling about? Who's this man?
Paul Ryan recently, he really burst through last year when he ran for vice president. After the election, Ryan said President Obama was reelected because of the high turnout of urban voters. Then when he was asked just how he liked his coffee, Ryan said, no milk, no sugar, just urban. Well, there's RNC Chairman Reince Priebus. You heard me correctly. His name is Reince Priebus. Tonight, he's sitting right in between his brothers, Lather Priebus and Repeat Priebus. House Majority Leader Eric Cantor is here, or as I like to refer to him, yet another Jewish Republican from the South. Gets old. That reminds me, also joining us is a congressman from New York named Steve Israel. That's right, he's from New York, and his name is Israel. Now, there's pandering, and then there's pandering. That's like having a congressman from South Carolina named Jesus H. Gunn.
The name's Gunn. Jesus H. Gunn, I tell you.
You gotta use this thing, it's fantastic. You didn't use it once. I mentioned Republican Governor Chris Christie earlier. Governor Christie and Shaquille O'Neal are sitting at the same dinner table. So let's give it up for the real unsung hero tonight, their waiter. That poor bastard. He's going to lose an arm. I believe we have one or two Supreme Court justices here. The Supreme Court seems divided over same-sex marriage. The liberal justices favor it, while the conservatives oppose any lifelong sacred union between two men, unless, of course, it's Antonin Scalia and Clarence Thomas. The hell was that? It's no surprise that Speaker John Boehner isn't here tonight. Speaker Boehner and President Obama are still struggling to get along. President Obama and John Boehner are kind of like a blind date between Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow. In theory, they understand each other's positions, but deep down, you know nothing's ever going to happen. Speaking of nothing happening, we're all hoping, of course, that nothing happens with North Korea. And that got me wondering, what is with Kim Jong-un? Now, in the past, we've had really scary enemies like Saddam Hussein and Hitler. Now, suddenly, our nemesis is a pouty teenage boy who dresses like Rosie O'Donnell at the Emmys. Kim Jong-un doesn't understand that we aren't afraid of him. What that guy doesn't get is that we already have an unstable peninsula that will ultimately bring down America. It's called Florida. Yes, it is. Yes, President Obama has a lot on his plate right now. But he's now at that very nice stage where there are no more secrets left to come out about him. We all know that as a child, he lived in Indonesia. He studied at a Muslim seminary and occasionally ate dog. So clearly, from the beginning, he was a kid who had his eyes set on the U.S. presidency. Check, check, and check. Here I come. Now, I know the relationship between the president and the press can seem a bit strained at times. Some in this room have even accused the president of being distant and aloof. When I asked the president about it earlier, he said, "Oh," and then walked away. Of course, it's only natural, but Mr. President, your re-election was a little less exciting than the first time around in 2008. On election night in 2008, you celebrated with hundreds of thousands of people in Chicago's Grant Park. It was fascinating. This time around, you split a char dog with David Axelrod at the Wiener Circle. It just didn't have the same buzz. And by the way, I have a question, and I think some of you also have this question. It's been several months since you were re-elected, sir. So I'm curious, why are you still sending everyone 5 emails a day asking for more money? You won! Do you have a gambling problem we don't know about? Did you put it all on Gonzaga? You did, didn't you? He did! President Obama has already made a lot of changes in his second term. Sir, you recently appointed John Kerry and Chuck Hagel. Very smart move. You appointed the only 2 people in the United States who look even more tired than you. It's a great strategy. Mr. President, you're going to leave office as a very young man, and yet the presidency has taken its toll. I don't want to alarm you, sir, but you're starting to look like a judge on Law and Order. Just say you're on thin ice, counselor. You could have that part right away. Seriously, Mr. President, your hair is so white, it could be a member of your cabinet. He can handle it. Speaking of the cabinet, the president recently picked his new Treasury Secretary, Jack Lew. It gives me great joy to know that if the president ever has to let him go, he'll get to say, "It's not Lew, it's me." But the quote I hear the most about the president is that he's always the coolest guy in the room. That's what everyone says. He's the coolest guy in the room. All right, but here's my question. Who else is in that room? It's not hard to be the cool one when the other guys in the room are Biden, Hagel, and Kerry. I'd be cool, too, if I was stuck in a room where Tom Vilsack is showing Stephen Chu how to do the Harlem Shake. Now, I've made some jokes about the president this evening, and I'm looking forward to my audit. It's coming. I know, sir. It's coming. But I would like to take a moment here and change gears and say something to the president regarding the events of the past 2 weeks. Some of you may not know this. I grew up in Boston. My parents still live there. And my brother Luke raised his family in Watertown. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Mr. President, for visiting that great city and helping its people begin to heal with your inspiring words. It made a huge difference. It's been said recently that you don't mess with Boston. As someone who grew up there, I'd like to echo that sentiment. It's really pretty simple. If you're going to pick on a city, don't choose one where 9 out of 10 people are related to a cop. Don't do it. It's stupid. And that includes myself. I have one more thing to mention before I go. Everyone's obsessed with Washington these days. You all saw how you went crazy for House of Cards, Homeland, and of course this event tonight. Hollywood can't get enough of your world. Well, tonight I'm excited to announce that Turner Broadcasting is going to make a major television miniseries about the big power players here in Washington. They just finished the casting, and I would like to announce who is going to play who. This is big. Vice President Joe Biden is going to be played by Bob Barker. Former White House advisor David Axelrod will be played by Higgins from Magnum P.I. This was also produced by Steven Spielberg, by the way. Representative Paul Ryan will be played by Mr. Bean. Senator Chuck Schumer will be played by Grandpa Munster. Senator Harry Reid will be played by the old man from the American Gothic painting. Fox News CEO Roger Ailes will be played by Boss Hogg. We signed the deal. Speaker of the House John Boehner will be played by Tan Mom. Secretary of Homeland Security Janet Napolitano will be played by Paul Giamatti. Former White House Chief of Staff and Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel will be played by Stewie from Family Guy. Secretary of State John Kerry will be played by an Easter Island head. I cannot tell those two apart. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts will be played by Buzz Lightyear. Senator Mitch McConnell will be played by Dame Edna. CNN anchor Wolf Blitzer will be played by a Furby. NRA Executive Vice President Wayne LaPierre will be played by the face melt guy from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And finally, White House Press Secretary Jay Carney will be played by Ralphie from A Christmas Story. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge honor. Thank you very much. Hey. It's no fun following you.